Sometimes the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all. Your silence. It's not just quiet. It's loud, and it's breaking him. When you choose silence after he reaches out and is met with rejection, you are not neutral. You are not protecting yourself, and you are not sparing him. Silence in this context becomes a weapon, subtle but deadly. It lingers in the air, sharp and cutting, heavier than any word you might have spoken. A single word, even a simple one, carries closure. Silence carries questions, doubts, and the weight of assumption. It fills the space where understanding should exist with shadows of uncertainty. And make no mistake, the human mind doesn't ignore silence, it listens to it. It reads into it. It magnifies it until every quiet moment becomes a sentence, a judgment, a verdict. Your quiet isn't empty, it's loud. And it is killing him softly, moment by moment. He will replay the encounter over and over. Your eyes, your expression, the way you didn't respond, all these things will echo in his mind like a relentless drumbeat. Every unspoken word becomes a story in his head. He will imagine every possible reason for your silence, and most of them will be harsh. Did I do something wrong? He will wonder. Was I not enough? Did I fail somehow? Silence doesn't answer these questions. It invents them. And when it invents, it usually leans toward the negative. Your quiet becomes a magnifying glass on his flaws and fears, highlighting every insecurity he never knew existed until that moment. Humans crave connection. We crave recognition, even in failure. When we are rejected, we instinctively look to the other person for closure. Just one word, acknowledgement, honesty, even mild compassion can prevent a spiral of doubt. But silence is a vacuum. It absorbs light, hope, and understanding. It leaves a hollow space that will be filled with the darkest corners of imagination. And in that hollow, fear grows. Self-doubt festers. Confidence erodes. A rejection spoken with honesty can sting for a day. A rejection left unanswered can haunt for a lifetime. Your silence doesn't make the rejection easier. It makes it permanent. And it's not just about him. Silence has a ripple effect that extends beyond the immediate moment. It changes how he sees himself. Yes, but also how he approaches the world. A person who is met with silence after their vulnerability may start to withdraw from others, build walls that are taller and thicker, and carry a cautiousness that prevents connection. You may think your silence is temporary, fleeting, but it doesn't vanish. It transforms. It becomes a lesson he never asked to learn, that expressing his truth leads to emptiness, that reaching out leads to ghosts. Your quiet teaches him to fear, to doubt, and to mistrust, not because you intended it, but because the human heart is wired to seek meaning, and meaning will be found in your absence. Consider the weight of silence in the simplest terms. Every second that ticks by without acknowledgement is a sentence in his mind. Your eyes looking away. Your lips unmoving. Your body turning elsewhere. These moments stack, one on top of the other, until they form a wall taller than any words could ever build. That wall becomes an invisible prison, holding him inside the echo of your absence. And even when he tries to move on, that wall follows him. It colors interactions with others, taints memories, and creates hesitations he will carry into every relationship. The damage done by silence is insidious. It doesn't announce itself. It seeps in slowly, leaving no scars on the skin, but deep, unhealed scars on the soul. Finally, silence transforms perception. What could have been a moment of understanding, a moment of shared humanity, instead becomes a stage for imagination. He will replay scenarios, invent dialogues, and assign motives that may not exist. Your quiet gives power to thoughts he never would have had if you had simply spoken. And those thoughts, unchecked, grow into a narrative he will carry with him, defining how he sees rejection, vulnerability, and even himself. Silence doesn't close a chapter, it rewrites it, often in the harshest terms. It doesn't allow for nuance or forgiveness. It allows only for speculation, for judgment, for pain. And all of this stems from something that, on the surface, seems harmless, something that feels like stepping back, letting time pass. But time doesn't heal this kind of silence. It feeds it. It lets it fester until it becomes an invisible killer. Rejection is never easy. It lands on a person like a weight they weren't ready to carry, a stone thrown into their chest, leaving cracks in places they didn't know were fragile. It's not just a word or an event, it's a moment that echoes in the body, the mind, and the heart. He has already felt it twist his stomach, tighten his chest, make his hands tremble. Every rejection carries a sting, a question of worth, a whisper of inadequacy. And when you respond to that burden with silence, when you leave your truth unspoken, you are not sparing him. You are doubling the weight he already carries. You are stacking stones on a foundation that is already fragile, and every quiet second makes it heavier, harder to bear. He will think about it constantly. Every time his mind wanders, every time he remembers your eyes, your gestures, your absence of words, it will return to him like a relentless drumbeat. He will analyze every detail of the encounter, every nuance of your body language, every fleeting expression, trying to find a reason, trying to find a sign he can understand. Rejection, when met with silence, doesn't provide closure. It provides confusion. Confusion is heavier than clarity. It's not the sharp cut of a word that hurts the most. It's the slow, grinding ache of not knowing, of guessing, of questioning yourself in the dark. Your quiet is not neutral. It is an invisible force pressing down on him, making an already heavy burden feel like a mountain. Rejection alone is isolating. It leaves him standing in the middle of a storm, exposed, vulnerable, and uncertain. In that storm, he is seeking something, a word, a look, a gesture, to tell him that the world hasn't completely abandoned him. Your silence, even if unintentional, is like turning your back in that storm. It tells him that he is alone, that he must weather it himself. And humans are not built to endure emotional storms alone. We are wired to seek connection, to reach for understanding, to find even a small spark of empathy when everything else feels dark. Your refusal to speak extinguishes that spark, leaving him not just rejected, but unseen. There is a subtle cruelty in silence. It does not announce itself with malice. It does not shout. It creeps. It fills every space where words could have been, taking up room in the heart, in the mind, in the soul. And in that space, doubts multiply. Was it something he did? Something he said. Something he could have fixed if only he had tried harder. Every unanswered question becomes a shadow that follows him, shaping how he sees himself and the world around him. Rejection is already heavy, but your silence turns it into something permanent, a weight he cannot set down, a chain he cannot release. And it is not just emotional, it becomes physical too. He might feel it in his chest, a tightness that never fully goes away. He might feel it in his hands, trembling with frustration or uncertainty. Rejection is heavy enough on its own. It can cause sleepless nights, restless days, and the gnawing ache of self-doubt. Silence in this context does not allow him to process or release that weight. It traps it inside, letting it fester, letting it grow, letting it define him more than the rejection itself ever could. Your quiet is not passive, it is active, shaping, influencing, and amplifying the pain he already feels. Finally, consider the moral weight of silence. Rejection is part of life. Everyone experiences it, and everyone must learn to navigate it. But when someone reaches out, when they are raw, exposed, and vulnerable, your choice in that moment matters. Your silence is not inconsequential. It is a force that shapes reality. It adds to the burden already on his shoulders. It tells him, without saying a word, that he must carry it alone. And no one should have to carry such weight alone. Rejection is already heavy. Your silence ensures that he carries it longer, deeper, and with more pain than necessary. That is the quiet power of silence. And it is killing him one moment at a time. Honesty is the bridge between two human souls. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be easy. But without it, that bridge collapses under the weight of assumptions, doubts, and fears. When someone has opened themselves to you, when they've shown vulnerability and risked exposure, silence is the absence of that bridge. It leaves them stranded on one side of a chasm they cannot cross. Your words may falter, your voice may shake, your hands may tremble. But even the simplest truth is more powerful than silence because truth acknowledges their humanity. Silence, no matter how calm or passive it seems, denies it. Speaking honestly, even when rejection has occurred, demonstrates courage. Courage does not mean denying your own boundaries, pretending to feel what you don't, or offering false hope. Courage means saying what is true, acknowledging the situation, and refusing to leave the other person to fill the gaps with fear. When you speak, you give clarity. You provide context. You offer an understanding that prevents the poison of doubt from taking root. Silence offers no clarity. It leaves the mind hungry, searching for answers that may never come, creating stories far darker than the reality ever intended. Respect is born from honesty, not avoidance. When you speak your truth, you honor both yourself and the other person. It may sting, it may bruise, it may be uncomfortable, but it builds a foundation of mutual recognition. Silence, on the other hand, teaches disrespect without even trying. It communicates that the person before you is not worthy of your voice, not worthy of your acknowledgement, not worthy of the basic human courtesy of words. Words may fail, may tremble, may fall short, but silence never fails in one regard: it speaks loud enough to wound. Human connection thrives on clarity. The human heart is wired to seek it, to lean into it, to find peace and understanding. When someone reaches out after rejection, they are asking, even silently, for a gesture, a sentence, a moment of acknowledgement. By responding honestly, you give them a gift far greater than comfort. You give them respect. You tell them, I see you. I hear you. I acknowledge your feelings. Silence tells them the opposite. You are invisible. You are unworthy. Your emotions do not matter. That is the distinction between honesty and silence, between building and destroying, between giving and taking away. Honesty also prevents misunderstandings that linger far beyond the moment. Silence is a seed of speculation. It allows thoughts to twist and grow in directions you would never have intended. A single word, simple and sincere, can prevent months, even years, of what-ifs, regrets, and self-recrimination. It anchors the rejected in reality, giving them a moment to process, a moment to learn, a moment to grow. Silence leaves them adrift, caught in an endless storm of imagined rejection and self-blame. Your voice, honest and human, becomes a lighthouse. Your silence becomes a void. Finally, the power of honesty lies not just in how it protects them. It also protects you. Silence may feel safe. It may feel convenient. It may seem like a shield from confrontation. But in reality, it erodes your integrity. It teaches avoidance. It allows fear to dictate action. Honesty, even when uncomfortable, even when messy, builds character. It shapes you into someone capable of facing life without regret, someone who can hold their ground, speak their truth, and still honor another human being's dignity. Silence, left unchecked, erodes this. It leaves only doubt, doubt in them, doubt in the world, and eventually doubt in yourself. Empathy is the quiet hero in human connection. It doesn't demand applause. It doesn't seek recognition. It doesn't tally victories. Yet its power is immeasurable. When someone has been rejected, when they are vulnerable and exposed, what they need most is not your justification, not your explanation of why you were right to distance yourself, not your defense of your choice. They need acknowledgement of their feelings, acknowledgement that their humanity matters, even in the face of disappointment. Empathy whispers, "I hear you. You are not alone." Silence or even vindication denies this truth. Revenge, justification, or proving oneself right might feel satisfying in the short term. It might make the ego feel protected, the pride intact, the self righteous. But these are hollow victories. They solve nothing. They heal nothing. They may even wound deeper than rejection itself. When someone reaches out after being hurt, they are seeking connection, not judgment. They are looking for understanding, not approval. To meet them with empathy is to honor their courage, to honor their vulnerability, and to offer them a chance to process, to grow, and to carry the weight of their own experience without adding more. Empathy does not require agreement. It does not require approval. It does not ask you to compromise your boundaries or compromise your truth. It simply asks for recognition of the other person as a human being. When someone has been rejected, when they have opened their heart, they are fragile. Your empathetic words do not need to change the outcome. They simply need to illuminate a path through the pain. Even a single sentence, a single acknowledgement can prevent a storm of doubt from consuming them entirely. Silence, in contrast, allows that storm to rage unchecked. Consider the ripple effect of empathy versus vindication. When someone feels heard, even when their hopes have been denied, they begin to rebuild. They begin to learn that rejection is not annihilation, that vulnerability is not weakness, that connection is not transactional. Empathy teaches resilience. It teaches dignity. Vindication, on the other hand, teaches detachment, abandonment, and fear. It leaves scars that no apology can erase. Your choice in this moment, the decision to respond with empathy rather than assert your own righteousness, can define how they see themselves and how they navigate the world moving forward. Empathy is a strength often mistaken for softness. It is quiet, but it is unshakable. It doesn't bend under pressure, it doesn't fade with time, and it doesn't retreat from discomfort. To choose empathy over silence, to choose understanding over vindication, is to show real courage. It is to step into the moment fully, to witness their pain without flinching, and to respond in a way that heals rather than harms. Silence, in contrast, is cowardice disguised as neutrality. It may feel safe, but it leaves wounds that fester long after the encounter has passed. Finally, empathy is transformative, not just for the person receiving it, but for the one giving it. When you respond with understanding instead of judgment, you elevate yourself. You shape your own character. You practice humanity at its most potent. You model behavior that teaches grace, courage, and emotional intelligence. Vindication may satisfy the ego, but empathy satisfies the soul. Silence may protect the moment, but it destroys the memory. In the end, empathy is not just an act of kindness. It is an act of power, an act of truth, and an act that can change the course of someone's life in ways that silence never could. Every action we take or fail to take leaves a mark. But silence leaves an imprint that runs deeper than words ever could. When someone reaches out after rejection and you respond with quiet, you are sending a message, whether you intend to or not. That message doesn't disappear. It doesn't fade with time. It lingers, shaping how he sees the world, how he sees relationships, how he sees himself. One moment of silence can echo into months, years, even a lifetime, influencing the decisions he makes, the risks he takes, and the way he allows himself to connect with others. Silence teaches lessons that words never could. When someone is met with quiet, after showing vulnerability, they learn that expression can be dangerous, that courage can be punished with emptiness, that honesty can be met with neglect. These lessons are absorbed silently, etched into the mind, and carried forward. He may hesitate to reach out again, not just to you, but to others, to life itself. The fear of rejection compounded by silence is a weight that shapes choices, limits opportunities, and constrains emotional growth. Your quiet is not neutral. It is instructive, and the curriculum is harsh. Imagine the impact of a single unanswered question, a single ignored message, a single moment of hesitation. It becomes a blueprint for future behavior. He will recall the faces of those who left him unheard and use that memory to measure every interaction that follows. He may guard his emotions more tightly, withdraw when he should lean in, and close doors that could have opened worlds. Silence molds behavior in ways you cannot predict. It teaches avoidance, fuels doubt, and instills caution where courage might otherwise flourish. And all of this stems from the absence of a single word. Yet, this is not just about what he loses. It is about what you lose by staying silent. When you choose not to speak, you forfeit the chance to influence positively. You allow the moment to pass without offering guidance, without offering clarity, without offering compassion. Your silence leaves the narrative in the hands of fear and imagination. And those are poor storytellers. One word of acknowledgement, one act of honest reflection, one moment of empathy could redirect his course, plant seeds of confidence, and provide lessons of resilience. Silence robs him of that opportunity and, in doing so, robs you of your own agency. The future is not written in stone. It is shaped by choices, decisions, and reactions in the present. Your words, or your lack of them, act as chisels, sculpting the path that he walks. When you respond with thoughtfulness, you offer him a chance to heal, to grow, to make choices rooted in understanding rather than fear. When you remain silent, you hand over the pen to doubt and speculation. The consequences are subtle but profound, touching every relationship, every interaction, every risk he might take in life. Your silence has power. Power to guide or power to wound. Finally, consider the responsibility inherent in your silence. Life often places us at crossroads where even inaction speaks volumes. Choosing not to speak does not absolve you from the impact of that choice. Your silence carries weight, and that weight shapes destiny. Every quiet moment after rejection becomes a lesson he internalizes, a rule he lives by, a path he either avoids or follows. You are shaping him whether you intend to or not. To remain silent is to participate actively in that shaping. So why not choose words, empathy, and honesty? Why not be the architect of hope rather than the keeper of shadows? Silence may feel safe, but it molds futures in ways we rarely see. There is a moment in every human interaction when silence no longer serves, when someone has been hurt, when rejection has left them exposed and vulnerable. Silence becomes a chain. Every second you wait, every breath you take without acknowledgement tightens that chain around their heart. And the longer you wait, the heavier it becomes, not just for them, but for you. Because silence is not neutral. It does not preserve peace. It allows fear, doubt, and misunderstanding to fill the space where words could heal. Breaking that silence is not just an act of courage. It is an act of liberation. To speak after silence is to reclaim power, not power over them, but power over the moment. It transforms the narrative from one of absence to presence, from doubt to clarity, from pain to possibility. Even a single word, carefully chosen, can lift burdens that have been silently stacking for days, weeks, or months. Reclaiming the moment is an acknowledgement of responsibility, a recognition that your presence, your voice, and your honesty carry weight. Silence leaves the story unfinished. Breaking it allows closure, understanding, and a chance for both of you to move forward. The act of breaking silence is also an act of courage. It demands vulnerability, the very thing that feels most dangerous in these moments. To speak is to risk discomfort, misinterpretation, even conflict. But remaining quiet is a greater risk, one that steals opportunity and shapes pain. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action in spite of it. When you choose to reclaim the moment with words, empathy, and honesty, you assert your humanity and honor theirs. You say, without boasting, that connection matters more than pride, and that truth matters more than convenience. Breaking silence is not about control. It is about responsibility. It is not about rewriting the past or softening rejection into something it isn't. It is about acknowledging reality while honoring the human being on the receiving end. It is about saying, I see you. I hear you. I understand, even if we stand apart. These words, when spoken, have the power to shift perspective, soften hurt, and restore dignity. They prevent the mind from building stories that exaggerate pain, allowing him to carry lessons instead of scars. Silence allows wounds to fester. Speech allows them to begin healing. Consider the ripple effect of one courageous word after silence. It does not only impact the present, it echoes into the future. It teaches resilience, integrity, and emotional intelligence. It demonstrates that rejection is not annihilation, that vulnerability is not weakness, and that connection is worth effort even when it is difficult. By reclaiming the moment, you give him a chance to learn these truths, to reshape his understanding of himself and the world, and to carry that understanding forward in ways that silence could never achieve. Finally, breaking the silence is an act of grace for him and for you. It is a refusal to let fear dictate the outcome of human connection. It is the assertion that even after rejection, even after hurt, even after doubt, your voice can matter. It is the declaration that your choices shape reality, and that the choice to speak is always stronger than the choice to remain silent. By reclaiming the moment, you do not erase pain, but you transform it. You do not control the past, but you influence the future. And in that act, in that courageous, human, honest act, you find the true power of your presence. Your silence after his rejection isn't quiet, it's loud. It doesn't just fade into the air. It lodges itself in his mind, shaping his fears, his doubts, his choices. But you have the power to change that one word, one acknowledgement, one act of courage. That's all it takes to break the chain, to reclaim the moment, to restore dignity, to heal. So speak not to win, not to convince, not to prove yourself, but to be human. Speak because your voice matters. Speak because empathy is stronger than pride. Speak because honesty builds bridges and silence only builds walls. Because when you break the silence, when you stand in your truth, you don't just save him, you save yourself. You transform pain into understanding, rejection into growth, and absence into connection. And in that moment, in that one brave, honest human moment, everything changes.